Today is August 2. I'm sorry, today is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024, and we are going to be covering a story that I thought was pretty interesting. And the reason why it's pretty interesting to me is because we had a visitor at our church who is good friends with one of the elders, and I think they've been friends for like 40 years. And he is a missionary who does a lot of work, a lot of missions work, especially in the Middle East. And he talked about a lot of people from the Muslim faith converting to Christianity. And he says that Christianity is actually one of the fastest growing religions over in the Middle East, especially in Iran for whatever reason. But I thought that I would go ahead and bring you guys some good news. I think that we are kind of due with some good news instead of kind of bringing you guys some doom and gloom and you know talking about other folks and quote unquote exposing folks. So I thought that this would be a pretty good article to cover. Hopefully to lift some of you guys' spirits. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and greet a few people that I see in the chat so far. We got RJC, Grace and Peace. And then we got my sister Sheila Mahone watching as well. Grace and Peace, Sister Sheila. And listen, y'all go ahead and do me a favor. Hit that like button and partake in that poll that we got live only on YouTube, where I'm asking a question. Do you believe that this is true? That that Christianity is growing at a rapid rate, or is growing pretty fast in the Middle East. All right. So far, 60% of you say yes, God's Spirit is moving. No one says no. Islam is actually growing. No one says both can be true. And 33% of you guys just now say, let's just see what happens. Now, I do want to kind of warn you guys that I've been having problems with this computer. Something's going on with the battery. And yesterday while I was on it, it just cut off. But I do got a backup. So, so if this one goes out, I got another that is set up, ready to go. And it'll probably take me maybe like 30 seconds. If this does go out, then I can hop on the other one and we can just go from there. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get into this article. I don't want to keep you guys too long this morning because I got to get ready to head to work right after this. All right, so we are reading an article from crosswalk.com, formerly known as christianheadlines.com. The title says 1 million Muslims in Iran have turned to Christ as 50,000 mosques close. That's a lot of people. And I'm wondering, why is this happening? Now, and I'm pretty sure this article is going to lay it out, but I have not read this article so far. So I kind of wanted to do a live reaction. So, wanted to read it with you guys. But, like I said earlier, I believe that this is probably true. Since we had a friend of ours visit the church and confirm this about 2 weeks ago, before me even hearing about this. So, all right, enough of this mindless babble. Let's go ahead and get into this article. It says 1 million Muslims have accepted Christ in Iran as tens of thousands of mosques in the Islamic country have closed, according to reports on the ground and multiple ministries in the region. In February, I'm going to see if I can say this correctly, Muhammad al Aboga Hassim Dualbi, a senior cleric in Iran, revealed that 50,000 of the nation's 75,000 mosques had closed because of substantial drop in attendance. Wow. It's like more than half. What is like? It's like a third. Sheila Mahone said it sounded a little fishy. I want to see why. Why does it sound fishy, Sister Sheila? Trying to say this is something like a conspiracy theory going on. Maybe you got some Muslims claiming to be Christian right now. Maybe it's just like some evil little plot to claim Christianity right now. And then once everybody starts to get comfortable thinking that they're Christians, then they're going to turn around at the last minute, flip the script, and then bring everybody into the Shahada. Bring in that Sharia law. All right, let's continue. At the same time, Muslims are finding Jesus, with approximately 1 million Muslims in Iran coming to Christ, according to the International Radio Ministry, the Tide, and a new report from CBN. Todd Nettleton, vice president of message for the Voice of Martyrs, said many Iranians are searching for hope. Quote, "You have a country with one of the highest drug addiction rates in the world." Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. I genuinely did not know that Iran has one of the highest drug addiction rates in the world. I would have never thought that, especially not in a Muslim country where a lot of that stuff is like, forbidden. They really look down upon things like that. But I mean, you never know. You never know. All right, let's continue. Quote, "You have a country where more than half the people live below the poverty line," Nettleton told CBN. "And the people of Iran are looking at this, and they are saying, wait a minute, if this is what Islam has brought us in the last 45 years, we're not interested. We want to know what the other options are," end quote. Yeah, that is pretty interesting to see why a lot of these things are being allowed within the Muslim countries, or within this Muslim country, Iran, to be exact. Grace and peace, Lachat, and grace and peace, Daryl Medlock. Grace and peace. And as you guys come in, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that like button. A December survey of Iranians from the Netherlands-based Gaman Institute found that 80% reject the Islamic Republic and want a democratic government. The potential of a quote-unquote Jesus revolution within Iran has sparked pushback from the Islamic government, Nettleton said. Conversion from Islam to Christianity is illegal in Iran, and of course it is. Just like it is everywhere else that is mostly majority Islamic Iran. Grace and peace, Ja Tony. Grace and peace. Good morning. Okay, so it seems like, so it says that 80% of Iranians, okay, that's just Iranians. I was about to say Iranian Muslims. Was that 80% of Iranian Muslims? Because I'm like, wait, hold on. If Iranian Muslims want to be up under a sort of democracy, then I'm like, why are you still Muslim? You might as well just go ahead and just get up out of that, because I don't think that Islam teaches democracy the way that here in the West we teach or hold to democracy. All right, I mean, how many of y'all think this is sounding good so far? Type of 1. I mean, maybe God is working. Maybe God doing something right now. All right, let's continue. Let me see. Quote, "This is not something that is making the regime happy. And really, in many ways, they are seeking to solidify their power and to crush any kind of dissent," Nettleton told CBN. "We've heard multiple stories this year of Bible study, a home church being raided. Uh, that might be a typo. Everyone there is photographed, everyone there is questioned. But then the leader of this meeting is held on too. They are arrested, they are detained, they're put in prison. So it seems like that they still have a pretty tight leash on people who who are converting from Islam to Christianity, because it seems like that they're still raiding some of these Bible studies, maybe even some churches that we probably just haven't heard about, and they're detaining Christians. And I mean, this is pretty common for anyone who has studied any of some of the practices and some of the hostility towards Christians over there in the Middle East. So in certain countries, you can be killed. And actually, when we were talking to the missionary who frequently goes into the Middle East to plant churches and to help Muslims with their conversion from Islam to Christianity, and providing them resources, because what'll happen is that when people convert from Islam to Christianity, then their lives, are on the line. People get disowned by their families and all of this type of stuff. And sometimes it'll be the families that'll persecute or kill their own family members. So this doesn't seem like this is anything surprising, but I think that if Iran is moving more to a Christian leaning country, I wonder what does that look like for the future of Iran. Daryl says Jack Van Imp used to talk about Muslims planning to have a fake conversion. And I've heard about that too. I've heard about Muslims, or a certain sect of Muslims, I would say, that do promote that, that their agenda is to try to make themselves look westernized, so therefore they wouldn't have a problem getting into the Western countries. And then once they get into the Western countries, then they turn around, flip the script, and then start to slowly but surely bring people, especially those in the West, up under Sharia law. But again, that's kind of speculation. And but as I read this article, it does seem like that is pretty valid. That this might be pretty valid, because it seems that once a country, or I would just say a group of people, let's just put it like that, any group of people, whenever they're facing any type of turmoil or poverty or any type of adversity, that's when people usually look to Christ. That's when people start really looking to Christ and looking into the Christian faith, when they are going through something bad in their lives. That's when people are really, that's when people really look to Jesus. Because if I'm not, if I got to be honest here, when you're looking at other religions like Islam doesn't provide a way for salvation with God. It's just kind of like this, well, just continue to do the rituals, do the prayers, make sure you make that trip to Mecca once in your life before you die. And, we'll see. If God has mercy on you, he'll let you into the kingdom, but, you ain't going to know until you die. So you can do all of that stuff and possibly still be kept outside of paradise. So it's really just up to Allah. Good morning, Bagani Masango. Good morning. Where are you checking in from, Bogani? Are you in the United States? Are you in the UK? Are you in Africa? Let us know that. And as you guys come in, go ahead and hit that like button and partake in that poll that I got live only on YouTube, where I'm asking, do you believe this to be true? So far, 40% of you say yes, God's spirit is moving. No one says no, Islam is actually growing. No one says both could be true, and more than half of you, which is 60%, said, say, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Pagani says that he is watching from South Africa. Well, welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in and tapping in. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Dun Shink, executive director of the Thai ministry, said Muslims are responding to gospel-centered messages that are broadcast into Iran. Quote, we get responses from listeners who say, now I understand that God loves me, and I always thought that God wanted to punish me, Shink told CBN. And I think that there's an awakening that is taking place across the Muslim world, not just in Iran, end quote. And you know, and I think that that's a factor too. That's a factor as well, to where if a person is feeling like that God is always watching them, waiting for them to mess up, that's really not a true repenting faith in the Most High God. When you're a part of a religion that does not teach you that God loves you, God actually wants to see you repent, not just because it's gonna, make you look good or make him feel a certain way, but he's just like, no, like, this is not what you were designed for. You were not created to live a sinful life. God's laws are not supposed to be burdensome. You're supposed to get joy out of following the Lord and putting your faith and trust in him, knowing that he's working everything out for your good, not just sitting back waiting to punish you if something happens. There is no good news in Islam, if I can be honest. John 20 says Islam and Catholicism need evangelism worse than anyone. How many of y'all agree with that? And I think sometimes, and a lot of times, and this is what people don't understand, when I hear these conversion stories, true conversion stories, it's always the same. That, man, I was walking around, I didn't think that anyone liked me or loved me, but found Jesus. And now I know what true love is, what true love feels like. Because the one who instituted the concept of love actually loves me, and he shows that love for me, and now I fully understand what that is. And then you can be able to love others. And then that's when the real joy starts to happen. A lot of people think that Christianity, especially evangelical Christianity, is this whole feel good, name it and claim it. God's going to bless you. He's going to give you riches, and he's going to increase your territory and health, wealth, prosperity. And it's like, it's not what evangelical Christianity is about. I will say that. It's about having that true relationship with God, finding joy and peace and refuge in him, not based on a whole bunch of rituals and how many times a day you pray and how many times you go to the mass and trying to build up this merit. You kind of got this meritorious bank account where you do good and all of this good just keeps getting deposited into this bank account, and then when you get to heaven you can be able to pull all of that out and then present it to God and say, look at all of the good and moral stuff that I've done throughout my life, so now you got to let me into the kingdom of heaven. And it's just like, that's not the way it works. Not at all. And a lot of people who are outside of the faith think that that's what Christianity is, because they live their lives according to that. I mean, even atheists believe that, well, I'm a good person, so they got to count for something, when the Bible tells us that none is good. Christianity, especially Protestant Christianity, and I have to start making these distinctions, and some of y'all already know why, but we ain't going to get into that. We're just going to try to stay right here. But Protestant Christianity, and I think that a lot of people have such a problem with it because everyone else is trying to gain favor with God through their actions and their rituals. And when we read the scripture, you don't see any of that at all. But then once God reveals himself to those people who are outside of the faith and they finally understand what it's like to be in Jesus, it's like this great awakening happens. You know, it's like your eyes are like finally open and you feel a deep, genuine, true love from God. How many of y'all have actually? How many of you guys? I'm going to ask this: before you got saved, and comparing it to now, does it seem like that things are just different? I mean, like seriously, that does it seem like that the way that you view the world is different, and the joy that you have now versus the joy that you had back then doesn't even seem to compare. You know, Sheila says yes. Yep. And I think that we all can attest to that. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to this article. The International Ministry Open Doors said Christianity in Iran is only tolerated if, quote, you're part of a traditional Christian community. For instance, Armenian or Assyrian Christian, end quote. But for, quote, Christians who convert from Islam, Open Doors said, not even the veneer of tolerance is present, end quote. So yeah, converting to Christianity from Islam is a very serious thing. Let's be clear on that. You know? And I know you'll talk to some of these Muslims who'll be like, oh, well, you know, you can be a Christian over in the Middle East and nobody's going to bother you. Just pay your jizya. And Christians and Muslims live side by side and everything is okay. And it's just like, it ain't that simple. It is not that simple. Jatoni says it is uncomfortable and even dangerous winning Catholic and Muslim souls to Christ. And it's a spiritual war. Too many real Christians don't want the war because they ain't got the cojones, I'll say that. Stay bold, king. Quote, the government views conversion as an attempt by the West to undermine Islam and the Islamic government of Iran, Open Doors reported. This means that anyone who is discovered to be a member of a house church can be charged with a crime against national security, which can lead to long prison sentences. Anyone arrested or detained can be tortured and abused while in jail. Some Christians are released and monitored, and a second arrest could mean a long prison sentence. Wow. Grace and peace, Stevie Rankins. Grace and peace, and good morning. And here's the thing. Jesus told us with these words throughout his own mouth. He says, listen, and I actually taught on this at church this past Sunday. Jesus said, listen, if they hated me, they're going to hate you. If they persecute me, they're going to persecute you. So, and this is one of the reasons why we can have a distinction between what some of these pastors are preaching in some of these mainstream churches. Like, oh, you know, everything's going to be all right when you come to Jesus. It's like, no, let's start telling people the truth. Like, for instance, and shout out to my sister. I hope she's watching. I love my sister. You know. She's the second oldest. I'm the first oldest. I'm the oldest boy. She's the oldest girl. And man, a few years ago, my sister didn't want anything to do with the church, anything to do with Christianity. She was basically like a universalist. She wouldn't say God, she wouldn't say Jesus, she would just say stuff like the universe, right? I try to have multiple conversations with her. She didn't want to hear it. So recently, she just gave her life to Christ. And actually, she did it on my birthday. Well, she didn't do it on my birthday, but she called me on my birthday to let me know that she had given her life to Christ, which was such a blessing. One of the best birthday gifts ever, probably the best so far. So when she told me that she had given her life to Christ, um, I had to remind her. I said, "Listen, this is when the real battle starts. This is when the real battle starts. You think that the enemy was after you before. He's really going to be after you." And I reassured her. I said, "Listen, you got help from the Most High God." And I said, "Here on earth, you got me, you got my wife, you got some other people who are in the faith who's going to help you along this walk. Because we want to make sure that you understand that you do have support." And, she kind of started to break down in tears and saying that, it's just such a good feeling to know that there are some people who do have her back in this walk and in this faith. So, with Iran having these strict laws of persecuting people who convert to Christianity, history shows that whenever you try to bring the hammer down on people who are truly sold out for Christ, that's when the faith begins to grow and expand. That's what's happening in China. They're trying to put the hammer down on Christianity, and the Christian church is exploding. Just like in certain places in Africa, which are ran by Muslims, and they're really trying to squeeze out Christianity, especially in Nigeria, and the Christian church is growing. So I'm pretty sure Iran is probably going to get to the point to where they're going to try to start making it more strict for people to become Christian. And if it's already starting to explode now, then there's really going to be a huge explosion the more and more they try to bear down on Christians. So this could be a good thing. This could be a good thing. Thank you, John Tony, for that message. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. All glory goes to God. None of this is possible without Him. Let me try to finish this up. Shank's Ministry, The Tide, reported that, quote, "What is happening in Iran is just the tip of the iceberg, as similar movements to Christ are happening across the Muslim world," end quote. The ministry said it is not uncommon for Muslims to dream about Christ. And here's the thing. I've heard this before, that a lot of Muslims have come to Christ after having dreams. I think Nabil Quresh, who was the guy who he actually died maybe about 5-6 years ago, and Nabil he was a Muslim, then he converted to Christianity, and I think he may have had a dream about Christ, and that's what brought him into the faith. Grace and peace, JP Uncut says, "Wow, early stream." Yeah, sometimes I do these Christian news segments early in the morning before I head out to the job. Grace and peace. Listen, you guys need to go and subscribe to JP Uncut if you haven't done so. All right, I'm kind of liking more and more of that content. Especially since he done had me on. Y'all might see me over there a lot more. A lot more. So, but yes, y'all go ahead and subscribe to JP Uncut. Grace and peace, grace and peace. Yeah, she says he does that all the time. Yeah, it's like a lot of Muslims, man. When you hear them converting to Islam, it's always because they had a dream. All right, so most of the people said that they've been subscribed. Yeah, Stephen Rankin says he did that video searching for Allah, finding Jesus. Yeah, actually, we have the video and I think we have the book at my house. All right, let's see if we can. I'm gonna wrap this up. I think this is the last paragraph. Quote: There is one common thread across these testimonies of Jesus appearing in Muslim dreams. The dreams by themselves do not immediately result in conversion. End quote. A blog on the Tide said, quote, rather, they are a step in the spiritual journey where the Lord breaks down some of the barriers which were the result of growing up in the Islamic faith. After receiving these dreams, these Muslims are often led to believers who engage them relationally. End quote. And that is the end of this article. Let's go back to our poll. Let's see what you guys been saying in the poll and the live chat only on YouTube, where I'm asking a question. Do you believe this to be true, that Islam is actually growing in the Middle East? I'm sorry, Christianity is growing in the Middle East and Islam is declining. How many of y'all believe this to be true? According to the poll, 38% of you guys, or 40, it's changing now. Starting to change. Them votes coming in. So far, 35% of you guys say that God's spirit is moving. 12% of you say no, Islam is actually growing. 6% says both can be true. And 47% say, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Daryl says, also keep in mind, they do have a false Jesus in their book saying he converted to Islam. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we have to be careful about as well. So just because somebody said that they quote unquote saw Jesus in a dream, we got to make sure that it's the right Jesus. But we also have to be prepared to be able to give the gospel to anyone that we may encounter who may have had such an encounter, to lead them to the right Jesus. We don't want to just be like, that's probably that fake false Jesus that you think that Muhammad was talking about. No. Let's walk with people a little bit. Let's walk with people. John Tony says it's dangerous for Muslims to leave Islam for Christ. Yeah, and actually, I remember as I greet Doki Bible Club, grace and peace, Doki Bible Club. I remember there was a lady when I went to go do some street evangelism with a few brothers of mine, brothers in Christ, and they had a lady with them who was from the Middle East, and she left the Middle East, and I don't know if it's because I think it's because she became Christian, and I think that she was engaged or she was about to be married to this guy, but she ended up leaving the country, wherever she was. I can't remember exactly what country she was at, but she came to America, gave her life to Christ, and when you're out, you street evangelizing, taking pictures, you're making videos and stuff like that. And the brother, he came to me and he says, one of the brothers came to me and he says, hey man, just make sure like when you take pictures and videos, either A, don't take pictures of the lady, or B, don't post it on social media or anything like that, because she has people that's actually looking for her. And apparently the people or her family, they had the money to be able to pull up on her at any time, to find out where she is and to pull up on her. And it was just like, this is a really, really dangerous situation, because she left the Islamic faith and now she's a Christian, and they're actually looking for this lady. So, we trying to make sure that nobody can, try to find her and harm her. So oh yeah, it can be pretty dangerous converting from Islam to Christianity. So, that's why we have to continue to pray for people, those who are making this move, and we have to be a little bit more sympathetic to those who are finding Jesus and they're coming from Islam. You know, we always have to be ready and be equipped to give people the gospel in season and out of season, even those who are still in the Islamic faith. You know, because I mean, not everybody who's in the Islamic faith are on some old ISIS terrorist type stuff. You know, as a matter of fact, you have more people in the Islamic faith who uh, disavow terror groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda and all of that stuff. Like, they're more against those guys than they are against anyone else. If I'm going to be real, I've had plenty of conversations with people who are of the Islamic faith. So, but whenever I've been presented the opportunity, I've always, did my best to present the gospel to them with the time that I've had. And I'm going to say this last, kind of give you guys this last story, and then I'm going to get up out of here. I remember I was working at a property, and I had to go do some work at this particular unit. And walk inside, and this young guy. He's like a young Muslim guy, right? And we were having a conversation. No, actually, this is how we got on the subject. So I'm inside of his, I think he was like a young college guy. So anyway, I'm doing work inside of his unit, fixing some stuff, and he offered me a soda. And I said, no, 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 I'm good, I'm good. He was like, no, 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 take it, take it, take it. And he kept trying to push. I said, no, no. I said, I'm actually fasting, which I was. I was fasting at the time. So I had to cut out, like, sugary drinks. I don't even drink sodas anymore. This is when I was drinking sugar and, just eating whatever I want. But during this particular time, I was fasting because I was trying to, I was trying to grow more in my walk with Christ. And I felt like that I had a lot of mental blocks that was happening. So I said the best thing for me to do is to fast. I cut the TV off, cut the social media out, and I even restricted my diet. I said I'm going to fast. So I really, really just need to be zoned in and focus on the Lord. So when I told him that I was fasting, his eyes got like this big, right? He was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I didn't know that Christians fast." I said, "Oh yeah." I said a lot of your Christians who are serious about the Lord and who really want a stronger relationship with God is going to fast. He said, "Well, when do you guys fast? I mean, is there like a particular time?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, whenever you feel that is necessary for you to fast, then that's when you do it. It doesn't have to be a certain day or a certain time in a month or a certain time in a week. Whenever you feel that you want to have a strong relationship with the Lord, then, this is one of the ways that you can do it." And he said, "Well, how long are you fasting?" I said, "Well, however long it takes." I said, "It could be for a week." I said, "It could be for a month." I said, "Heck, I mean, it could be for years." I said, this could be a life change. That, maybe this is the Lord showing me that I need to change some things about my life. So, and that was a way for me to kind of start having that conversation with him, and and then we went into who Jesus was, and he was just like, "Yeah, us Muslims, we believe in Jesus too." And so I started asking him questions. Like, "Okay, well, what do you believe about Jesus?" And that whole him being the Son of God thing, that was just like a real big stumbling block for him. So I had to kind of explain to him what that was with the little bit of time that I had. I couldn't really sit back and have too too much of a conversation at that time, but I did see him periodically, and we kind of you know followed up with some conversations as I saw him periodically and stuff like that. So, but I just want you guys to make sure that you're always equipped. Be prepared to give the gospel. You know, and yes, also people who are Muslim can be pretty hostile to Christians. But we also want to make sure that just because a certain group of people may be hostile to us, that we can still look past that and still show the love of Christ despite of that, you know. So thank you guys for showing up to this morning live stream on this Christian news segment here on my YouTube channel. And just like Tony says, hit that like button, and also rate this video, share it, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so whenever I get ready to go live again, you guys will be the first ones to show up to the live stream, catch it from the beginning. And as soon as I drop a video, you guys will be the first ones to see it. And with that, you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys next time, Lord willing. Peace.